listening Laugh Out Loud with Dave and JJ.
You left the hospital, I guess, on the weekend. A friend of yours went in. Just everything okay?
Yes, everything's good. A good friend of ours, then Mike and Ann from there from the campground. Ann actually runs the campground over at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We befriended them back in 2004 when I first started running in the Nationwide Series. They let us basically live over in the campground for a while before we got a house here in Charlotte. We were staying in the motorhome, and he had some chest pain.
Oh boy! Okay.
Right now he's doing good. He's feeling better. We visited with him again today. It looks like he's actually going to get to go home tomorrow. So,
well, that's good. Hickory. What happened in Hickory?
It rained and no one went. I drove for Craig Armstrong, and they generally have very, very strong equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Our first practice went decent. We were probably about 10th fast, and put our qualifying set of tires on, went out for second practice, and the car was just extremely loose. And really, that was something I thought from the get-go. And I thought that it might have had something to do with the fact that I just had been on pavement in a midget for a while, was maybe just a little on the rusty side, and just couldn't ever get the car in the racetrack. And they told me on Thursday that the problem with the car was the rear end ended up being bound up. They had a problem and had to change rear ends before they came to the Hickory. And I actually found it when Caleb got back in, or Dakota got back into the car, and just complained that the car was horrible. Just and I didn't really complain. It was just a matter of, I just thought we were pretty far off on the setup. And the biggest problem was we made significant changes in the car, from shocks to springs to everything you could think of, and the car just never got any better. So at the end of the day, that was the problem. The rear end was just so bound up that as soon as the car traveled, we lost grip.
Okay, so you're calling it rear end, and when you tweeted, you said that you spoke with the crew chief, and he found some issues with the torque ball being bound up. So is the torque ball the rear end?
The torque ball on a midget is what connects the torque tube to the motor plate. By the rear end being out of square, as the car starts to lean, let's say when you go into the corner, it locks up that torque ball. And once that locks up, it basically locks up all the rear suspension. So, that's where the car stops traveling. That's where the car stops getting grip, and you start sliding around. So, if in the heat race, keeping the car really straight, not hustling the car, it really wasn't too bad at all. But as soon as you got the car a little bit sideways, you started racing harder and harder. Once you lost that grip, it was virtually impossible to get that grip back until you got to the next corner.
Okay, I get it. Hey, what's happening with Phoenix in Texas?
The way things are looking, Phoenix is most likely going to be a wash. Talking with John Cohen, the owner for the Extreme Motorsports, they wanted to do Phoenix badly. He was looked into it last week to send in his entry. I guess the purse is a lot smaller for the Phoenix race than a normal nationwide race.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it's usually between 18 and 20,000 to start. Phoenix is closer to like 10. And he made it sound like he had some prospective sponsors coming to Texas, and with it being back to back in such a short week, having to be in Phoenix and then going directly to Texas, I think a lot of those teams won't even come back to Charlotte in between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And he was more worried about putting in a really good run at Texas, even though he wanted to do Phoenix. I think he wanted to do Phoenix more for me for the fact of going home than really wanting to go. And without having any sponsor commitments, it just made more sense to maybe hold off on Phoenix, make sure we went into to Dallas 100% with some prospective sponsors there for the fact of, we could impress these guys. He could come up with, some kind of sponsorship, or maybe where he'd run, maybe the latter half of the season, not 100% sure, but, I'm all for making sure we do it properly and give it 100%, and then maybe, flying through things, not going to Phoenix, with the chance of really running well, other than just being there, because, for the fact that, I hadn't run all year other than the truck at Daytona, I just, I definitely don't want to go to Phoenix hometown and just, make the race, run around in the back, because that's not going to be very fun for anybody.
Yeah, the food's good there, right? But
yeah. Well, unfortunately, I've been doing a good job of exercising and trying to eat pretty healthy. Easter you throw a couple of Reese's peanut butter eggs in there every now and again, but I know if I go back to Phoenix, that's gonna have at least 2 nights, 3 nights plus lunch of some Mexican food, and not the greatest for you. So,
and then off to the old insanity workout in the garage again.
Exactly.
Michelle or Kyle, do either one of you have a question for JJ?
Kyle does. Hold on. Who is your favorite baseball team?
My favorite baseball team? Wow. I really don't watch a whole lot of baseball. If I had to pick one, I'm not a Yankees fan. I would, I don't even know I could pull one out. I don't watch baseball. I don't have a big following. Not much of a baseball guy, other than I used to play it. I'm a big fan of the Big Reds here in North Carolina. That's about it.
Karen, I have a comment, but JJ, when you did that JJ race day, my mom and Kyle went up there, and they absolutely loved it. And if you ever do it again, I think it would be something wonderful, because I know it meant a lot to my mom, and unfortunately she passed away a month ago, and that was probably one of her happiest memories over the last 2 years. And as a daughter, to see all the excitement she had just sitting there with you and her grandson, that I think that was something special that you and your family did for your race fans. And nowadays, a lot of the NASCAR drivers don't stop and take the time for their fans. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I'm sure there's a lot of I think there's a lot of drivers that really appreciate their fans, but then you have some that take it for granted. And it's funny how sometimes it's done, I guess, for the wrong reasons. I know that where with the website and the fan club members on my side, we've always tried to do something with giving garage passes, which is virtually impossible to get unless you're with a sponsor. So, I know how important it is without fans. I mean, it's pointless. It's no fun to go out there and race for no one in the grandstands. And it was amazing. Just when we went to Hickory, I know there wasn't a lot of people that showed up. There probably wasn't 300 people there. And it is a race car driver. When you look up there and there's no one in the grandstands, it kind of takes some of the fun away from it versus it's a packed house. As people come to watch you race and put on a good show. So, I think the fans are foremost the most important part of it. And hopefully the promoters and the drivers and the sponsors, everyone realizes that, without fans, the sport just isn't what it is, or what it should be. I talked with Scott Zipadelli and saw some guys that you're obviously in NASCAR, but, most of them didn't find out till last second. And you just can't do that. People have to plan around stuff, especially with Milwaukee.
Was that the event that Shane Hemmel was at? Okay.
Yeah. He was, you could see in practice that he was by far one of the fastest cars.
Yeah.
He's probably, of all the guys over there in the midgets, he's probably the only one that's ever been there before. I got lost trying to get there on Wednesday, and even my GPS on my phone couldn't hardly find it. So, yeah, I was lucky I made it in time for hot lap. So,
is Michelle still on the line?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yes. Well, just, I can understand, to some degree of your appreciation for what JJ does, and I've said this I don't know how many times, but and Karen as well. But he truly is a class act, and in the times that I've been able to meet with him and speak with him, whether it be on the phone or in person at the track, it's his loyalty to his fans, and like he says, really he allowing them to go places that nobody else can go. And with giving garage passes, it's unbelievable. And he has supported the causes that I've been raising money for, and they seem to change as time goes on. But for the last 4 or 5 years, so I can second what you say, and I've told him that many times, and so has Karen, that he is one of those guys that needs to be back in the public eye, back on the track, and doing what he does best. So, and we all can't wait for that to happen soon enough.